He couldn't do it. We laugh because what else are you going to do? Yes.
Personally, I don't really mind that whatever he did, you know. What I mind more about is that he just came out and told the American people that it wasn't, you know, that he didn't send anything, and he lied to everybody. And then a few days later, he says that it was him, and now all of a sudden, you know, it's supposed to be okay. If we can't believe him as a person, how are we going to believe him as a politician? So that's my biggest problem with him.
Yes, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I mind what he did.
Good for you. I do too.
In the first place, it was horribly immoral. In the second place, we elect representatives because we trust their judgment, because we can't be there in Congress ourselves every day to make decisions. This was really, really bad judgment, and a member of Congress shouldn't have that bad judgment.
How can you trust a guy, is it Shaney? Shani.
Yeah.
How can you trust a guy who's in Congress who says, wow, I've been screwing around on my wife and I've done such bad I'm so stupid, I'm this important, you know, I'm on TV, everybody knows who I am, I'm in Congress, I've got political enemies everywhere, and I'm sending pictures of me with my cat and my shirt off going, dig me. That's how bad his judgment is. So A, how can you trust him when he says, oh, no, you know what? Healthcare, I've looked into it. It's good. Really? Oh, okay. How can you trust him when he say, you know what? No, I'm telling you, we have to go to war. And how do you trust that this guy hasn't been compromised and compromising all of our information? It does matter, doesn't it? Yes.
The lying really bothers me. It certainly was terrible what he did. But when a witness takes the stand and an attorney shows that that witness was lying, the question comes, well, are you lying now? Were you lying before? You know, they're useless. They're worthless once you can prove that they lied. And my question is, if we weren't able to prove that it was a lie, how long would that lie have gone on?
Okay. So when we come back, you said something to me right before we went on the air.
Right.
You said that how many people even care about morals and what's morally right? Can you restate that?
Yeah. Basically, we always talk on the show about good and evil and morally correct. And just there's a lot of people that are kind of like in this little bubble, and they just don't care or don't even really know about what's going on in the world. Everybody's just kind of focused on their day-to-day, and nobody really looks at the bigger picture, and that's the real big problem. It's just like there's a whole group of people that might even be comprised like a majority to some degree that are just kind of go with the flow.
When that happens, cakes and circuses, and when people say, I don't really care, I'm just watching, it's just entertainment, they control. Whoever wants power, well, it could be anybody. Whoever wants power controls you. So now we've taken a look at the Wiener list. Now let's take a look at this list. And what does this picture mean? And why is that list important? And then I'll ask the same question. Okay, so then what are you going to do about it? Why even pay attention to it? What are you going to do about it? Next. Hello, America. Welcome back. We have an audience today because we have all these Wiener facts we have to sift through. In case you just joined us, the Wiener fun is over for a while. Now we're going to go to this chalkboard, which are the other headlines. There are more headlines here, and I love these headlines here. U.S. funding for future promises lags by trillions. You read that headline? Lags by trillions. In other words, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, we're now 61.8, but who's counting? Might be 7 trillion dollars behind. Can anybody give an idea of how much money that is? You take every dollar, every yen, everything that anybody produces, sells, buys, anything, for an entire year, not in the United States and Canada and Mexico, But the entire world, for a year, it's about $55 trillion. That's how far behind we are. Who thinks we can pay for that? Who thinks we can come up with a flying car that's going to pay for that? Nobody. Then James Carville said this: there will be civil unrest over the economy. Tiffany, do you have the actual quote from him? The civil unrest on the economy? Did anybody see this? Of course not. He's on a network nobody watches. He was talking about it, and he said, civil unrest is imminent. It's imminent. Who thinks civil unrest here is imminent? Why?
Everything is just so crazy, and just look what went on with the protests for the. I'm sorry. I'm so
For
nervous.
Wisconsin? Don't be
Yes,
nervous.
Wisconsin.
Just you, me, and 2 million friends.
And just, you hear people, the sense of entitlement. Like, I was going to make a comment about the Wiener thing.
Uh-huh.
It's like it's being dismissed. He has no responsibilities. What is this? It doesn't make any
This is a
sense.
poor choice.
How are we? This is what we're teaching our children. It's like an entitlement society.
Mm-hmm.
That drives me crazy, and I get scared because.
Don't get scared. Be determined. Don't be scared.
Okay.
Be determined.
But
Yes.
we're going to be like Greece. I mean, that's what I
Greece.
see, and that's what I'm afraid of right now. That is what I'm afraid
Who
of.
watched this show 2 years ago when I held up the book, The Coming Insurrection, and said, "Here it comes. It's coming. Read this book." Anybody remember that? Yeah. Called a lunatic. Hey, look what's happening in Greece. Yes, go ahead.
We've overspent, we've overpromised, we continue to spend, we're not cutting back anything, and we have millions of people, is it what, 40% of the country that's on entitlements?
Yeah, is that a problem for you?
Well, what are we going to do when everything goes awry and bankrupt? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be upset.
Okay. All right. That's a good place. So, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Question is, what are we going to do? What all these stories tell us, not the Wiener stories, the other stories, the stories that I showed you that China is, that story about China, Latin America, and Europe, they're buying the food manufacturing plants. Remember when I told you that food prices are going to go up? Okay? Food prices going up. Anybody shop? Are food prices going up? Yeah. Anybody knows the president said there's a food shortage, there's going to be some food shortages around the world, et cetera, et cetera. Then we had all of the floods. We have fires that are going on. What's happening in Europe? Anybody tell me what's happening in Europe with the food? E. coli. E. coli. Have you seen the videos of the giant, the green beans and the cucumbers and everything just being bulldozed and, right? What do you think that's going to do to food prices? Right? Okay. So when you look at all of these stories, the dollar is going down. Unemployment is high. We've got imminent crisis of people that are going to riot, according to James Carville. Future promises lag by trillions. Food prices are going up, et cetera, et cetera. Answer the first question. What do the stories tell us? Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps we better start preparing ourselves with storage of food.
Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps we should prepare. For what? For what? The stories tell us, you cut right to the chase, but the stories tell us trouble is coming. Now, the next question is, what is the answer? Prepare for trouble. What would you do as a president? What would you do if you're president of the United States and you came to those two conclusions? What do those stories tell? Hey, there's trouble coming. The United States is bankrupt. The world is on fire. There's food shortages coming. We have energy shortages now. You're president of the United States? Anybody, what do you do?
Stop spending. Stop making promises you can't make. Stop printing money.
Okay? Yes, ma'am?
Fiscal Discipline.
Fiscal discipline. Christina?
You warn and you tell your people to prepare.
Stand up and say this. Look at everybody and say this. What do you say?
You warn your people and you tell them to prepare.
You warn your people and tell them to prepare. Have you heard anybody say that in Congress or in Washington at all? I warn you, prepare. Why do you do that? You do it because it's your job to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. We're going to start there next. Hello, America. We're with a studio audience today because it's a wiener show today. And instead of talking about Anthony Weiner and the mess that he's in, and I know a lot of people want to see about Anthony Weiner, I think we might want to stop with the cakes and circuses for a second and say, okay, how does that affect my life? We've already seen that it affects our life, that he could be endangering all of us because he can be blackmailed because of it. We know that it's a sad, tragic story with his family. And we've also decided there's nothing we can do about it. We can call, we can, I guess, protest. We can not vote for him. We can go vote for another candidate. But really, there's nothing we can do about him, right? Then you look, but that's the one that everybody does something about. Then you look at the other stories that we were showing you just a few minutes ago, and these were the stories on, the economy and China and what they're doing and devaluing the dollar, the Fed, et cetera, et cetera. And I asked right before we went into the break, if you're president of the United States, what do? The answer was, you would warn people and tell them to prepare. What would you tell them to prepare? With, for, how? What would you do? How would you do it? Tell them to prepare. Food prices are going up. Buy some food. Have some food. Make sure you're not behind the eight ball. How about make sure that you're not over your head if you can. Pay down your debt. Pay down your house as much as you can. Have extra in your silos, right? That's what you would do. But remember, you're the president of the United States. What's his number one job? What's he supposed to say when he takes the oath?